Let's talk Steelers. Desmond King on the trade market or maybe getting cut. Possible signing of a player from the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad. Players coming back from injury. Trade rumors. Coaching problems. So many things swirling around this Pittsburgh Steelers team as we head into week 7 for a big matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. And the Steelers are trying to keep pace in a very tight AFC North race. And I know it's early in the season, but you really have to keep pace if you're the Steelers and you're not the type of team that can really dig yourself out of big holes. So you really have to keep pace. Welcome back to Mic Drop Sports, everybody. I'm Jason. I'm your host. We're going to talk about all this stuff here, and let's just dive right into it. Now, let's go through the Desmond King issue. Desmond King, they've already informed him they're looking for a trade partner. Otherwise, they're going to cut him because they really want to sign Darius Rush from the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad, the cornerback. And Desmond King isn't really what they thought he was going to be. At least that's what the rumor is. And Desmond has already been informed what's going on. So they've, let him know so he can start figuring out his future and hopefully, maybe be involved in some of the trade talks. I don't know. I don't think he's that type of player and he carries that much clout that he could probably be in the room or something like that. But at least the Steelers are decent enough. They're keeping him in the loop, letting him know what's going on. And hopefully the Steelers are able to gain some type of return for Desmond King. It doesn't look like that would happen, but we'll see. Maybe an injury, a key injury happens somewhere to where Desmond King is needed somewhere and another team needs to pick him up. All this ahead of the trade deadline, and we're rapidly approaching that. And the Steelers have several rumors also going on about maybe trading Najee Harris and things of that nature, which I don't think will happen. Maybe Mason Rudolph. I don't think any of these trades are probably going to happen. It doesn't seem realistic considering the Steelers really need to just keep their depth at these positions. Yes, Mason Rudolph was that third team guy, but you really probably in this day and age need to have a third team guy that's at least serviceable. And Mason Rudolph is that, at least serviceable. Then you look at Najee Harris's situation. He's in the last year of his deal, his rookie deal. And the Steelers probably aren't going to pay him any type of money next season. So should the Steelers get something for him now and really rely on Jaylen Warren? But you really need a backfield with two backs in it. And does Anthony McFarland, now that he's coming back from injury, who's been injury prone in his career, does he fill that void and really make that two-headed monster in the backfield of McFarland and Warren and trade Najee? But what are you really going to get for Najee Harris right now? No team's going to give anything big, anything substantial for Najee Harris. Let's face it, the position of running back is not valued as it once was. Jonathan Taylor was on that market, and teams weren't willing to go and give a Lions ransom for him, a King's ransom for him. But hey, stranger things have happened. Omar Khan has pulled some things out of his butt before, but hey, I don't think a running back really warrants that kind of like a second round pick, a third round pick. I don't even think you're going to get a fourth round pick for him. Maybe a fifth, sixth, or seventh, maybe best case scenario. I just don't think that running backs hold that type of value because the Steelers are probably just going to plan on riding him out this season and letting him go and figure it out and ride to the next guy and draft another running back and figure it out because that's what the running back position has really come down to right now in the NFL. So trading Najee Harris seems to be like type deal. Like, what are you going to do? It doesn't really matter. You're not going to get anything crazy back for him, but you can use him now, and he is a good ball player, and he can get hot, and he can do big things, and you can ride him at times, especially when you're in like the playoff type time to where you need a guy like Najee, big-bodied back, maybe can get some tough yards, maybe really grind some things out, especially as this offensive line hopefully improves. But that's a whole separate issue, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But that's just the gist of the Najee Harris thing. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the Steelers really are interested in trading him. Now somebody picks up the phone and makes an offer they can't refuse. I think then he's gone, but how likely is that to happen? Maybe like 60%. Maybe there's that high. Maybe I'm even overestimating it. But those are like the rumors swirling around right now around this team. in trades and things of that nature. Some people are saying trade for a cornerback of some, I don't know who you're going to even get. Maybe the prices are too high too when teams are in desperate mode in the middle of the season. Do you really want to make deals now? I mean, it's really got to be a sweet deal for you to make deals at the trade deadline, in my opinion. You really got to be getting a high valued player for really nothing, or getting rid of a nothing type player, a player that really provides you no real significant value, and getting something back for him. Those are just making deals at the trade deadline, guy. I just think it's just a thing that you probably shouldn't do. I think you should be ready to go. I mean, if you desperately need something, go ahead and make those deals if it means like you're going to make the playoffs or not. But really, you don't jeopardize your future to make a trade at the trade deadline. You should be pretty set in what you are and who you are and the players you have right now, unless there's some significant injury or something like that. But I think you need to be like a Super Bowl caliber team. And right now, the Steelers are not a Super Bowl caliber team. They may be moving forward. We'll see, I hope. But the Steelers really need to find their identity and really start to get going. Like I said, we're moving into week 7. This is the meat of our schedule now. This is where the Steelers really have to form that identity. And they really have to start doing the things they can do well. And they need to do it consistently, fundamentally, and do it well over and over and create a winning formula. Create a buzz in that locker room. Create some confidence in that locker room, especially when you're looking at the offensive line, who's played poorly so far. And that leads me into something that I feel like the coaches, we talked about yesterday, Mike Tomlin, talking about Dan Moore Jr. coming back. And then you hear that he got first team reps when he came back. I don't really like that. Roderick Jones he had a great game, in my opinion, against the Baltimore Ravens. No pressures allowed, no nothing. Like, what are you going to do? Let the guy develop. I think Mike Tomlin, like we said yesterday, he outsmarts himself sometimes in this player development field. JPJ is ready. Let him take his lumps. He's going to get burnt. Let him do it now. Let him get it over with. It's early still in the season. Let's get moving. Let him go. So far, he's proven that he can do the job. Broderick Jones has proven he can do the job. Let him go. Let him develop. And that's a problem. But the Steelers, again, let's say they go ahead and start Dan Moore Jr. How big of a leash does he have? Letting up another 2-3 sacks or so, whatever, or just having a really horrible first half. Then do you yank him out? I know it's a problem. And I know Mike Tomlin, what he's probably trying to think, like, hey, I don't want Dan Moore to lose his job because he was injured. I want him to have the opportunity to fight for his job because he was the incumbent starter. Well, sometimes you just need to throw all your bullshit out and let things develop naturally. And it started to, and you started to see it late in the fourth quarter of the Baltimore Ravens game. And that's what you kind of got to go with right now if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, because Matt Canada blows. Kenny Pickett's playing terrible. He has no confidence. The offensive line is playing shitty. Jaylen Warren seems to be a bright spot. George Pickens is a bright spot. And now, hey, you're going to probably get back Pat Freiermuth. Maybe you can control the middle of the field underneath. You're getting back a Deontay Johnson, who's an excellent route runner and can get separation to give Kenny that confidence. Those things have to happen, man, and the Steelers need to keep continually growing, and Mike Tomlin can't keep interfering in that. I think he needs to just allow it to happen organically, and it was starting to. And when you tamper with that, I think you're playing with fire if you're Mike Tomlin. And maybe he's just playing his cards close to his chest because he doesn't want teams in today's world. All the news is out there. Everything's out there. And a team can say, hey, they're going to be starting Dan Moore Jr. now, blah, blah, blah. But really, in reality, Mike Tomlin's going to come out there and he's going to start Broderick Jones and JPJ, Maybe he's just trying to hide it and trying to take a little bit of an advantage because there's barely really any separation between NFL teams. But let's talk about this Week 7 matchup. And enough about the coaches and enough about all the changes and things that could be happening. So let's just talk a little bit about this Rams team. They're a gutsy football team, and they keep finding ways to win. They're sitting in third place in their division right now at 3-3. Their defense is ranked 13th in the league right now, 13th ranked against the pass, 22nd against run. And that's a pretty good thing for the Steelers to exploit. They're giving up about 330 yards per game, and the Steelers haven't sniffed a 400-yard game in a long time. And they give up about 10 TDs so far. The offense is probably what's holding them together the most. They're ranked 8th right now in the NFL. Excuse me. But the Steelers, they need to exploit some things on defense from the Rams. They have Aaron Donald. They have a former Pittsburgh Steeler, Ahkello Witherspoon, out there who, he had an interception last week against the Cardinals. I think it was last week or the week prior, but he's had a recent interception. But there's things the Steelers offense can exploit, and that's that run defense. And I like, too, when I'm looking at the tape, I think the Steelers should be able to run some draw plays, some play action plays. I think the Rams at times over pursue. I think the Rams can be beat deep. I think that the Steelers have that elite speed, especially when you're adding back a Diontae Johnson, who is a shifty, great route runner. I think that could free up the Calvin Austin type stuff, because now this defense has to worry about a George Pickens and a Diontae Johnson and possibly a Pat Freiermuth underneath into middle, short, intermediate stuff. I like the Steelers in that run game, but I think you need to run draws and things of that nature when they're over pursuing and get around that pass rush, get around that Rams defense, and really try to exploit that. That's one thing the Steelers really have to do, and they need a back like Jaylen Warren to probably do it. You need a guy that can hit those holes quick and really just smash in there, guys. That's what you really need. And I think Jaylen Warren in this game sets up perfectly for him. I think this is where he could really shine. And I also like the screen game. I think the Steelers really need to utilize that screen game. I noticed a lot of yards after catches when teams were throwing screens against this Rams defense. I noticed players could really spring free, especially, again, a guy like a Jaylen Warren. I think that could work, or a guy like Calvin Austin or Diontae Johnson. I like that a lot, and I think the Steelers really need to utilize that. Utilize those tight ends in the middle of the field. I think you could really exploit the short to intermediate game on these guys, especially with good tight end play. So come out and mix it up. Use some different things, draws, screens. Get in that double tight end and mix up in the middle and try to use those drag routes to separate, create some separation with the Diontae Johnson, a Calvin Austin. Again, this is all dependent on the offensive line, which we're reverting back to. But still, that's the types of plays that you need to use to be able to get, I think, some to exploit this Rams defense in a way that can gain you a high amount of yards and can keep the ball moving and can control the clock and keep that Rams offense off the field. Because I think that could be a problem. I think the Rams offense finds ways to just get it done. Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, things of that nature. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense, I think, can match up well, but I don't think it's going to be really a good day if you're going to wheel out a Patrick Peterson who is in the latter part of his career and can't cover a Cooper Kupp. You're asking for trouble, asking for big trouble, because they also have Tutu Atwell. I like him. He's a quick guy. He can catch. Puka Nacua. I like him when I was watching the highlights. But you have Matthew Stafford, who's a veteran guy, a Super Bowl winner. And he's going to be able to pick this defense apart if you're not able to at least lock down one of those guys like a Cooper Kupp and let JPJ out there on an island with somebody and let him control that and let the rest of the defensive backs worry about the other two guys that could really damage you, and not keep going down this trend like that Mike Tomlin was asked about yesterday, being the 8th ranked team in pass yards allowed. You can't continue that trend. You have to really stop that bleeding here, and that means the insertion of JPJ. It has to be done. You got to just let him play as many snaps as you can get out of him here in Los Angeles. I think it's the formula to win. And I think you can get home on Matthew Stafford. I think the offensive line plays well at times. They have a great run game. However, their top two backs are going to be out. Kyren Williams, Ronnie Rivers, they're going to be out. So you, as the Steelers pass rush, need to be able to really hit home and cause some disruption. And where things are going to matter the most is like in the Keanu Benton, that area, Larry Ogunjobi. They have to be able to stuff that inside because I noticed the Rams running a lot in between the tackles and gaining a lot of positive yards from it. Yes, they run outside, everybody does, but I noticed a lot of big hitters between the tackles, and that has to be stopped by Larry Ogunjobi and Keanu Benton and players of that nature. You got to get them involved early. They got to be able to have a big game, and that pass rush will be able to get home if that interior defensive line is taking care of what it needs to. And maybe make the Rams one-dimensional and not allow them to establish that awesome run game, not allow them to be able to do the things they normally do, dragging Cooper Kupp across the field, getting that run game going so well that they're able to hit the deep ball without really any truly elite speed. Now they have good speed. It's the NFL. But I'm talking crazy elite speed. They still manage ways to find Cooper Kupp deep and other players deep. So the Steelers really need to limit that run game to start controlling that type of thing. Hopefully we get Presley Harvin back, and that is able to flip the field position for this defense and not put them against short fields and really keep them down, to where they can pin their ears back and get the Rams in 3rd and long, 3rd and unmanageable downs. That's where we're looking, and Presley Harvin plays key roles in that. Whenever he has a big boot and it gets down inside the 10, that allows the Steelers to do a little bit more, a little bit different things. And hopefully the Steelers are able to take advantage of Presley Harvin coming back, and he can continue to have a big season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, guys, we're going to break this down a little bit further. Maybe we'll break it down just a little bit more in depth. Again, there's some big names in this game, and Aaron Donald, a Stafford, so many players on the Rams. Still, even though they cleaned the cupboard out a little bit, still there's some players there that you need to be concerned with, and you need to watch, and you need to make sure that you maintain and watch throughout the game that they don't take it over and destroy you. So there's a lot still to talk about. We're going to wrap this one up. I got things to do, so I got to break it off here. I got to take my kid to practice, all that happy stuff for football. Last week of youth football, so we're going to be finishing that up. So we'll have even more time to do some videos and some content for the Steelers. So we'll look forward to this second half of the season for your Pittsburgh Steelers and see what they can do moving forward as the Steelers really try to get back on top of this AFC North division and really make a go of this thing. And I apologize, I've hit the mic now about 3 times. But anyway, let's wrap it up, guys. Until next time, I'm Jason. This is Mic Drop Sports. Subscribe to the channel, that little red button down there in the corner. Hit it. And until next time, peace.